Okay, so I hope you understand the coding that I have in this table, and you can refer to the equipment code tagging over here. For this particular lab, we're going to you are going to conduct lab number 1, which is Bernoulli's theorem demonstration. Lab number 2, free and force vortex. Lab number 6, fluid mixing. Lab number 9, film boiling condensation. Lab 10, property measurement, or it's actually it's a gas expansion unit. And lab number 13 is master boiler. So these are the experiments that you are going to conduct for the next 14 weeks. And I think by now you know that each lab would correspond to different type of reporting. Yeah. For the close-ended lab, okay, all the close-ended lab, which is not highlighted in this table, which is L1, L9, and L10, the output would be in the form of manuscript. Okay, so you need to come up with a report in a form of manuscript. I'll be showing you the example. I think, have I uploaded in the folder sample of manuscript? Ada tak? I rasa macam ada. Let me see. I think. Files. Oh no, I have not actually uploaded. Output ada. Okay, ada. I have actually uploaded dalam experimental output. Okay. Okay, so dalam folder experimental output, I have there the lab front page, okay, the report front page, and also the format manuscript that you should follow, which I'm going to show you later dalam my briefing today. Okay, so coming back to the scheduling. If you notice that you're going to have the lab consecutively week 4, week 5, week 6, which means that you should get ready in week 3. Yeah, you should get ready on how to conduct experiment of week 4. Okay, and also week 5 as well as week 6. Contoh macam group 1 ni. So consultation lab next week, you should be looking into planning your work for your lab number 2, which is free and force vortex. Lab number 10, which is property measurements or gas expansion units. And lab number 6, which is fluid mixing. So next week, you should, not next week lah, by tomorrow, you should be, I have actually also include the manual. So for close-ended lab, by now you already able to look at the manual and go through the manual. And next week, if you have any question, then you can consult with me. Okay, so that's happening in week 3. Okay, so once you return from, after you complete week 6, week 7 and 8 is our assessment week, kan, for your midterm assessment. So I want you to let me know on which day that you are available, so that you can consult with the technician in the pilot plant. Are we okay? Are we all right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have week 7 or week 8, any of the week, any of the days of the week. So then you can be at the pilot plant and and have a consultation with the lab technician for your preparation for week 9. Are we okay?
Yes.
All right. And then for your week 11 and 12, your consultation is also taking place at the pilot plant where you're going to consult the technician to prepare you for your experiment for week 11 and week 12. Are we okay?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so when you return in your ITM, the consultation will be taking place at the pilot plant. Are we okay?
Okay, doctor.
Okay. However, for week 3 ni, the consultation is going to be online. Okay? Are we clear about the plan ni?
Clear.
All right. Okay, good. All right. So now, let's look at the output. Okay, what is the output? Oh, before that, a quick go, yeah? Or maybe I talk it next week. Tak apa, a quick go. When you are going to do your experiment, I mentioned that there will be two type of lab activity. Satu is open-ended, satu lagi close-ended. For close-ended, you can find the manual in the in the folder, in the Teams folder. So over there, I have actually included the 3 lab, which is a close-ended lab manual for you to have a look. Semua orang everybody has to go through these manuals, but everybody is going to conduct the experiment. Itu satu. For close-ended, you're going to refer to that manual. However, for open-ended lab, which I have created the folder, but it's still blank. So in this open-ended lab, you're going to have the lab instruction. Okay, so generally the lab instruction just give you the objective, the general description of the unit, and what to be expected out of the experiment. So from there, from that general instruction, you are going to be designing the experiment by laying out what is the method to use and what are the data that you should be collected. Are we okay? Are we good? Okay tak ni?
Okay,
All right.
doctor.
Right. So that document is very important because that would actually guide you in designing the experiment activity. Okay. So I'll make that document ready. Today hari apa? Selasa. Maybe end of tomorrow. Yeah. So you can check the folder. By end of tomorrow, that document should be ready. Okay. So now let's go to any questions so far? Do you have any question? Hello?
No,
You
doctor.
haven't? No. Okay. All right. So I also have in the schedule that you are going to sit for a test, kan? So test is going to be it's going to be conducted in week 13. Sorry. Your test is going to be conducted in week 14. And week 13 is your peer evaluation. So that week is the time for you to assess your teammates lah. So you're going to be given a questionnaire for you to fill up. Okay. Okay. So moving on, let's move to what is to be expected out of the output of the experiment. Okay. So your experiment, the output of your experiment would be in the form of either report or manuscript. So report has its own format, manuscript has its own format. And the manuscript, it is going to be in the form of either individual manuscript or group manuscript. However, for report, it's always going to be group report. meaning it's gonna be a collective activity lah, right? So this is where you are going to rate your friend, yeah. Your peer evaluation is going to be based on your um, collaborative work and your collective work to prepare the group report. Okay, so let's talk about how does the report looks like. Okay, before we go to the report format, let me just show you what to be expected out of a report. File. Okay. Okay, open-ended. Close-ended. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share you what to be expected out of the report. So can you see this? Can you see the front page of the report?
Yes.
Okay. So this is an example of a front page of a close-ended laboratory. Nampak tak dekat atas ni? Dekat heading ni dia tulis close-ended laboratory. So even though close-ended laboratory and open-ended laboratory, the format looks like the same. However, the allocated marks is different. Okay, for example, for calculation, for close-ended, the calculation is 15 marks. However, for open-ended, the calculation section is 10 marks. Okay, so the content, however, is the same, meaning in a report format, you should have abstract, you should have introduction, the aims or the objective of the experiment, the theory behind it, how does the apparatus looks like, the method or procedure, results, some calculation, samples of calculation, for examples, and you have discussion, conclusion, recommendations, references that you use, and appendixes uh, to be attached with your report. Okay, so there are some things which are different in terms of amount of marks being allocated between open-ended and also close-ended report. Okay, so another example is for methodology, for example. For a close-ended lab, the methodology marks allocated is 5. However, for a open-ended lab, the methodology is 10 marks. So I hope you can differentiate between open-ended and close-ended. Are we okay? Are we good?
Good.
Okay. So the difference in marks is such because the fact that it doesn't mean that when you say the marks is little means that you're going to write little amount of text. No, not necessarily that. So if the marks is little, it means that you already have that information in the manual. But for open-ended, you need to construct your own procedure. So that's why the marks allocated for open-ended is rather more greater than those in close-ended. So I hope you understand the meaning of this allocation of marks, and you should know that to which of the component in the report really matters. Okay, for example, in your close-ended your close-ended report here, you should emphasize on the discussion because it's 20 marks and the results as well as the calculation. It doesn't mean that you can abandon your introduction or you can abandon the objective because the mark is little. No, you need to have them, but you should know that you should put a lot of effort in those having high marks. Are we okay? Are we all right?
Okay,
Have you done an open-ended lab before? Ada tak? What was your previous lab? Chemistry lab eh?
Yes.
So the last laboratory was chemistry lab. Ada open-ended tak?
Ada.
Is it something like this as well, the format?
Lebih kurang kan?
Lebih kurang. Oh, okay. Anyway, all right. So for close-ended laboratory, I mentioned to you, it's going to be attached with a manual. Salah, a manual, but a manuscript. So for you to send your manuscript, you must have this as your front cover. Are we okay?
Wait.
Okay. And the name here could be individual, could be the leader of the group. Because for close-ended lab, there will be two types of preparation. One, it could be in the form of group, and another one, it could be in the form of individual. Faham tak ni?
Faham.
Okay. So if it's a group work, you need to list down the all of the group member in the name ni. Faham tak ni? Hello?
Faham.
Ah.
Faham, madam.
So if it's an individual, you tulis nama you seorang je lah. Yeah. But if it's a group work, because there will be two group manuscripts that you need to come out from a close-ended lab. So you should have your members, the complete name of the members. Okay? All right. And please write down the rest of the information lah. Okay, so this is for a close-ended lab. For open-ended lab, okay, so for open-ended lab, it's going to be always a group work. Okay, so for open-ended lab, ditulis kat sini open-ended lab. So it's always going to be a group work. Okay, maknanya the name ni will be of the whole team member lah. Right? And as I mentioned to you, the allocation is rather different. Okay. The intensity there is actually allocated at the results, calculation, discussion, conclusion, and also method. You can actually see how different the allocation of marks between close-ended and open-ended. Okay. Any questions so far with the front page?
No.
Okay, so for open-ended, you should construct your report in a report format. So how does it look like? One minute. Report. Okay, let me share this. Lab report. Okay. Okay, so I think I also have included this in the folder, this file. Okay, where this is going to guide you on how to you are going to prepare your full report. Okay. So did I mention to you that after each laboratory session, you need to make sure that you got your raw data sheet being stamped by the lab technician? Ada tak saya sebut hari tu?
Ada?
Ada. Okay. So please make sure that you get that copy stamp and attach with the full report afterwards. Yeah. So this is the things that you should have on your raw data sheet. It should contains a table of your data. I mean, you should have your data being tabulated in properly in a table. Okay. And then what's the name of the experiment? What are who were present during the experiment, and when the experiment is performed. Okay, and um, and also some short notes on how do you how would you um, what's your view on the data that you collected during the experiment? Whether uh, you would feel that the data is enough for you to prepare the report. Okay, a short comment on whether the result is following to the theory, and also whether it is something, if you notice that something wrong, or you make that note, the notes there. Contoh, if let's say the data is supposed to be escalating, tapi unfortunately in your experiment you notice that data went static. Just write that note in that piece of that raw data sheet. Okay. And over here, it stated that a full report means that the complete report must be submitted within 2 weeks after the completion of experiment. Okay. So since your experiment is on Tuesday, betul? Your experiment is always on Tuesday, kan?
Yes.
All right. So your deadline will be the next Friday. Faham tak ni? Hello?
Faham.
Bukannya the immediate Friday. Faham tak ni? So
Faham, Doktor.
the deadline will be the following Friday, bukannya the immediate Friday. Okay? So you should be sending that format lah, that reports physically ya. Saya tak nak you submit manual tu ada online. So you should submit the report to me at my office. Okay? Are we clear about the submission ni? Okay. So what should be in the report? Yang ni you boleh tengok lah daripada first page yang saya tunjuk tadi tu. So it should have a front cover, which is the first page yang saya tunjuk tadi, and you also must include table of content. And then the rest, the item yang I show you from the front cover tadi itulah, ni lah semua bendanya, item-item ni ya. Okay, let's go quickly. What should be written in the summary, and how do you describe, and so on. Quickly, sebab nanti saya akan tunjuk you what need to be avoid. Make sure that you prepare a report which is acceptable. So basically the summary, which is the abstract or the summary here, it should actually provide information that comprises what to be expected in the report. It's a summary. There should be a conclusion. That should state what is being done briefly, what is being done, and what is the output from the experiment, and what is being recommended if if it's necessary. Okay. And in the summary, It should not be. It shouldn't have detailed discussion, or should not elaborate further on the findings or on the issues that you found out from the experiment. So that should be kept in the discussion later on. So the summary has to be very brief. It's just one paragraph. All right, and then description. After you prepare the summary, there will be some introduction, where you're going to give some brief introduction, what is the experiment is all about, and following to that is the objective of the experiment or the aim of the experiment. And finally, you should also have the theory. You include the theory behind the experiment that you are conducting. Okay. And then very important is for you to have the apparatus or the experimental setup. That's also important. So I'm expecting that you are going to come up with some kind of figure. Okay, so where you should have proper label. Okay, you should have proper label, and describe the apparatus. Okay, so make sure that you have a clear diagram and as well as a proper labeling. So that is for the apparatus. Next is the experimental technique. So this is where you should write down the experimental technique, which I'm going to explain later on what is the verb that you should use. Yeah. And the experimental technique, if it's an open-ended lab, then this is something that you need to construct with your own sentences. However, for those close-ended, whereby you already being supplied with the procedure, you just need to follow the procedure and touch up the sentences so that it is suitable to be as how report experimental report is supposed to be written. Okay, I'll show you later on about the method for close ended. All right, next is the results, which obviously requires you to do some calculation. So you should have the results tabulated or shown in a chart or in a graph, for example. So the table will be your data, and you need to show some. Um, from the table, you might need to create another column where from the raw data you can use this. The product or the relationship of another column, so then you can come up with a chart or you can come up with a graph. So you need to show an example of calculation of the raw data that you use. Calculation in which from your raw data, you able to come up with another parameter. For example, you probably measure the length, and eventually you can come up with the velocity. Contoh, this is an example. So you need to show how you get that the information or the derived data that you get from your raw data. Okay, so you need to show a sample calculation, just a sample calculation. And also you need to include the error calculation. This is, especially when you come out with multiple replications of data, so you need to show that your data is having acceptable experimental error. Sebab kalau dia banyak-banyak data for one particular experiment, you replicate, you akan dapat data. So you need to make sure that your replication data is within an acceptable error. Right. So the most important bit is about discussion. So this discussion has to be related to your results, and you should highlight things that is relevant to your experiment. So some analysis need to be done. You probably in the discussion you're probably going to use the chart or the derived data that you got. And then for example, from the derived data, you come up with a chart or you come up with a graph. So you should be discussing about the significance of the graph or the significance of the chart that you have from the experiment. So make sure that um, if the discussion is very long, you need to segmentize it to in a form of subdivision. Probably you if the discussion is I mean it's so heavy, you can break it down into subdivision, so then it's going to be much clearer. Okay. And in this discussion section, you should also highlight any significant findings or anything that you feel are going to contribute to to your experiment. And it's also recommended for you to refer to relevant reference to support your discussion, right? And for conclusion, it's basically to state what is the output of the experiment, and is there any deviation from the reported or published work, or whether or not you able to come up with the expected trend and so on. So conclusion should be in one paragraph. For your discussion, you can have multiple paragraph, but for conclusion, I'm expecting you to come out in one paragraph only. As for recommendation, so for recommendation, you should highlight your suggestions in terms of what need to be done to improve the experiment, for example. Okay, and in the case of your results were not following the trend, you probably can suggest recommendation in this section. Okay. And finally, references. So this is where you're going to list down your reference, and make sure that this reference is valid, meaning the document is a authentic document, not references that you just refer from a website or you just refer to some blog. Okay, so make sure that you use relevant references, yeah, relevant and authentic references. For example, you can refer from books, or you can refer from journals, from journal articles, and so on. Make sure that you capture the the reference. I'll show you how to write a reference later. Yeah. And for appendices, you can actually include your raw data sheet. Remember, you got your raw data sheet included in the appendices, or you can actually show some extensive calculation. Let's say, in order for you to get your data, your derived data, you need to do some extensive calculation. So you can have that calculation attached in the appendix. Okay, so whatever additional information that supports your report should be in these appendices. Okay. Please take note that you should have the important text or important write up in the report. Those documents that supplement your report can be attached in the appendices. All right. Any questions so far? Are you clear on how to come up with the report format? Do you have any question?
No, so far.
Okay, all right. So if you don't have questions, let's look at how does a manuscript looks like. And I'm also going to show you how do you write a reference. Where's my manuscript? Manuscript. Okay. Hey, where is it? Should be manuscript. Okay. All right. Can you see the sample of manuscript here format?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Oops, on you. Okay. Right. So as how you going to prepare your manuscript output? Um, you first need to have the front page. Remember, you need to have that front page because your manuscript will be a close-ended lab. So you should have that close-ended lab front page. And following to that, you are going to have this document. So the document format would be in this form where you're going to write your experimental title here. So you're going to write your experimental title here. So this is your experimental title. Okay. And following to that, you're going to write down your group members with student ID. You write down your group member's name with student ID and construct your abstract and write it here. This is an abstract. So it should be a concise summary of the experiment. What is the results that you got from the experiment? What precisely explain? No, precisely state the experiment. What is it about? And also state the purpose as well as the results, the findings. Okay, and you also need to include the keyword. So in the keyword, you're going to write, for example, let's say you're doing an experiment on film boiling condensation. So your keyword one of the keyword probably is going to be condensation. Okay, so you're going to come up with a few keywords. You don't need to write the whole stretch. Probably a maximum of 4 keywords would be sufficient. Right, next in the introduction section, okay, so in the introduction section, kenapa dia tak mau bergerak? Okay. For the introduction, you are going to include what is the background of the experiment. Okay, and for the introduction, you should be writing about um, um, what is this experiment is covering, meaning the principles, what is the technique used, what is the hypothesis, what is to be expected. In the introduction. As for as for the objective, this is where you write down what are the statements that explain the objective, which obviously able to show the purpose of the experiment. Okay, so for example, let's say in the particular experiment, you are going to investigate three things. For example, you wanted to know function of A, and then you wanted to know function of B, another one function of C. So you should write the objective clearly in this section. Okay. And number three, section three is theory. So this is actually the additional information that you extract from the any resources. Let's say, for example, if you wanted to do film and boiling condensation, you probably need to extract what is the theory. You're probably going to refer what you learn in heat transfer. Some references that's relevant to to able to support later on when you do your discussion later. All right, and then the next bit is the procedure. So the procedure will be basically extracted from the manual, because this is a closed-ended lab. You're being supplied with a manual, so you're going to describe the experiment in of the manual. But remember, in this section, make sure that you use past impersonal tense. Okay, please make sure that you use past impersonal tense, and you can have them in terms of point form. Okay. And in the case, if you use any chemicals, please make sure that you include the reagents, the names of reagent, or the equipments or the apparatus used. So under this procedure, you should also have your apparatus description. So a description, it's the best for you to describe the apparatus in a form of figure, okay, and with proper label lah, right? Okay, now we move to results and discussion. So in result and discussion, this is where you are going to show your data that you have collected, or you are going to come up with a derived data from the raw data that you got, and you probably requires you to sketch a graph, or requires you to plot a graph. So you are going to use all these data, all these tables, all these sketches or graph in order for you to do the discussion. So over here for manuscript, if you notice, you don't split between results and discussion. So the format is such a way that, okay, whenever you come up with a figure, let's say you have a figure, let's say a chart. Okay, so the chart is basically your result, but you are going to talk about the chart that is going to be your discussion. So make sure that you have the caption of your chart or figure. Contoh, for example, like this chart. When you write a chart, your caption must be at the bottom. But when you are presenting a table, macam ni, the table like this, the caption must be at the top. Okay, this caption must be at the top. Siapa dia lari? Let me just adjust this, yeah. And okay, something like this. Okay. If you are presenting a table, your caption has to be at the top. And if you are presenting a chart, the caption has to be at the bottom. Now, when do we put the chart and the table? We would want this chart and tables being positioned as close as possible to the discussion. For example, let's say if you wanted to talk about this chart, okay, you should present this chart, and following to that chart, you are going to write the text. So, for example, in this case, figure number one. So, you should have the discussion of figure number one immediately after the chart. So, for instance, you can start from by referring to figure number one. It shows that the trend of data, yada, 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 you write that way. Okay. So, make sure that your figure or your table is near to your discussion. Okay. Let's say you need to have multiple charts. And these multiple charts is connected to each other. Probably this chart is for sample A, another chart for sample B, another one for sample C. You can arrange the chart accordingly, or you can split with the gap of the text of your discussion. Are we clear? Are we clear about how do you present your results and discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions so far? Do you have any
Mm,
questions so far?
no.
Okay. Right. Another thing about charts and figures, please do not include any chart or figures unless you want to discuss about it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Do you understand what
Yes.
I'm okay? If the chart or the figure is not relevant to your discussion, or you don't even mention that chart or figures, it shows that that chart and figures is not required in the report. You only have charts and figures when it is going to be discussed, or when it is going to be mentioned in your text. So I don't want to see you have a table here. For example, you have this one, you have table one. I don't want you to see you have this table one, but table one is not being mentioned at all in the text. Kalau ada macam tu, maksudnya this table one is useless. Are we okay? Are
Okay.
we good with the results and discussion? Okay, so I hope you understand how you're going to position your charts and figures. Okay, so you may read, the detail here, how to write the abbreviation, okay, how to come up with the caption, yeah. So you can read the guide there, okay. And if you have calculation, please show that calculation using apa namanya, equation, because it's going to be in word format, so please use the equation punya function, yeah, to show the calculation. And whenever you have equation, you need to label the equation. Okay, equation means that bukan calculation ya, equation. Kalau katalah contoh equation, force is equals to mass times acceleration. That is an equation. So you need to label that equation to be equation 1. So nanti bila you ada that equation 1, make sure that in the text you mention about the equation 1. Contoh katalah you dah buat equation, the equation that you have in your text is force is equals to mass times acceleration, and then you buat equation 1. So in the text you must use that equation 1. So for example, you are going to write, okay, the force for the force that is relevant to the system is being calculated by using equation 1. Faham tak ni? So jangan ada equation 1 tapi you tak mention pun dalam teks. Faham tak ni? Hello?
Faham.
Okay. Alright. So that is for results and discussion. As for conclusion, conclusion, I'm expecting you to write only one paragraph. Jangan berjela-jela. Ya. Write a concise statement to summarize the results. And eventually, this conclusion should answer the objective. So macam mana kita nak tahu whether are we writing the right conclusion? The right conclusion should able to answer what is your objective, what is your aim of the work. So that should, if you answering what is your earlier objective, then it should be in the conclusion section. And finally, the recommendation, as the same as how you write in the report, you should also include the recommendation for the experiment that you conducted. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to the reference. Yeah, how do you write? Do you know how to write references? Hello, do you know how to write references? I think you familiar when you prepare your assignment mesti ada references kan? Ke macam mana?
Ada?
Alright. So I hope you're familiar with the format. Sebenarnya references, there are a lot of format. Okay, there are a lot of format writing, but I want you to follow this format, numbering references. Contoh kat sini dia tulis 2. Now, these references bukan saja-saja je duduk dekat sini. These references has to appear in your text. Faham tak ni? Contohnya lah, katalah you ada satu reference, you suka sangat reference tu, tapi sebenarnya dia tak terlibat pun dalam teks ni. Tapi you nak listkan dalam reference. Tak boleh. So all references that you have in the list has to be relevant and mentioned in the text. Contohnya, katalah reference number 2 ni ya, Clark Maxwell ni kan. So it is being numbered 2. So apa yang berlaku adalah, maybe you can write large figures. Salah ni ha. Katalah, okay lah, this one. Figure caption show below figures the heads should appear. Lepas tu, you pun include lah si Clark tadi tu, Maxwell tadi tu. Mana ni? Where is it? Where? Ni dia. Okay, so number 2. So you akan letaklah number 2. Why you bubuh number 2 ni? Because Clark yang sebut benda ni. Faham tak? Are you okay?
Okay.
Okay. So make sure the reference list that you have here is the reference that you quoted in your text. Tak kisahlah kat mana-mana. Maybe dekat introduction ke, theory objektif tak mungkin lah. Dekat theory ke, ataupun dekat result discussion ke. You quoted that references, then you should have the reference written in the text, numbering, and you also should have it in the reference. Are we okay?
Okay.
Okay, so how do you write the reference? This is apa namanya, a format where you write the reference. One, this is the first name, this is the family name, this is a first name, this is a family name. First name, family name, and this is the title. So this is the edition, this is the volume, and this is the publisher, this is year of publish, this is the page. Are we okay?
Okay.
All right. So make sure that you capture all these to report your reference. Okay, there will be title, there will be volume, there will be year of publication, publisher, and page number, as well as a author. Okay, please follow this format. Okay. Any question or reference?
No.
Okay. Right. All right. So the final bit is about the appendix. Again, the appendix will be the raw data. I'm sure you have a raw data because every experiment must have a raw data. Or in the case you might need to add some supplementary data or supporting data, so you should have it in the appendix. Okay. All right. Do you have any question regarding the output for apa nama manuscript? Any question on the manuscript?
No.
Okay. All right. So anything any other questions that you have in mind? Ada your apa nama? Your name is missing from the list ke, ada tak dalam group tu?
Tak ada. Semua okay.
Okay, right. Good. Kalau tak ada, I have one final note that I want to remind you. First is plagiarism is very highly penalty offence. Saya ulang lagi sekali. Plagiarism is a highly penalty offence. If you caught with plagiarism, you are going to bring forward to the academic disciplinary board. Dengar tak ni?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure if you want to refer, you are going to quote that particular reference. If you quote, then you're not actually copying their work and claiming that's yours. Do you understand what's plagiarism?
Yes.
Okay. Claiming someone else's work as your work. How do you say that you're claiming? Is by stating it in your document. Okay, so that's plagiarism. So that's one thing. Second thing is if you were caught copying information that were present in the internet. I understand that you can actually search this in the internet, and some of the apa nama, some of the um, some of the pages or some of there are people making money out of it where they would have the previous report, the students from previous students or even from students from other country ke mana-mana ke. And if you were caught to have similarity with these document, you also going to be charged. Are you clear with the second one?
Yes.
Okay. So in short, your output, be it it's a manuscript or be it it's a report, has to be original. Faham tak ni? Because I can detect if you are copying or if you are actually conduct a plagiarism, yeah, in your report. Okay, so please use your own sentences. Construct your own sentences. Are we okay? Okay tak ni?
Okay.
Okay. Now, another thing that I like to you to take note if you got caught copying your friend's work, it's also going to be penalized. Faham tak ni? Because everybody is going to conduct all these 6 experiment kan. So kalau group 1 pergi tiru group 2, pergi tiru group 3, then kalau I detect, I akan bawa this ke academic disciplinary punya board. So please do not copy. Jangan copy. Now, you can discuss tak ada masalah. I don't have problem for you to discuss. I don't have problem for you to uh, talk about exchanging ideas. I tak ada masalah with that. But constructing the word by word exactly the same as your friend, that is something that is alarming. Okay, you should not do that. Are we okay?
Okay.
Right. So the final note that I like to emphasize here is about group work. Sebab ada banyak group work dekat sini ya. So I want you to make sure that everybody take part in preparing the report. Saya tak nak ada satu orang saja yang jadi tukang buat. So I want you to because later on you are going to discuss among yourself. So I'm sure you know how to allocate or split the tasks so that everybody has their function to complete the report. Are we okay?
Okay.
Right? Okay. So can you turn on your camera? Saya tengah bercakap dengan kamu ke dengan robot ke? Boleh turn camera tak? Saya nak tengok. Ada tengah buat kuih raya ke? Can you turn your camera please? Mana yang lain? Ni duduk dalam hutan ni siapa ni? Nur Aina ni.
Madam, saya punya kamera tu tak dapat buka.
Oh pula dah.
Stiker madam, lepas tu stiker tu tak dapat buka.
Saya ingat kamu duduk dalam hutan.
Sorry madam.
Yang lain mana? Siti Sarah mana Siti Sarah?
Ya, madam.
Mana kamu tak nampak pun.
Laptop saya punya kamera tak boleh buka, madam.
Ya Allah, telefon?
Okay, saya switch sekejap.
Shakila?
Kejap, madam.
Kenapa tengah buat kuih onde-onde ke?
Taklah, tak pakai tudung je.
Pakai tudung. Seronok kamu ya duduk belajar sambil-sambil baring-baring ya. Belajar sambil santai-santai. Sikat rambut pun tidak. Nur Fakihah, are you with us? Fakihah Kristina.
Ada.
Ada. Okay. Right. Okay. Lagi. Okey, mana okey? Okay, orchid ulang aquarium. Okay. Ni semua ada ke ni? Tak cukup ya 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tak cukup ni. Iskandar ni Iskandar. Iskandar, are you with us? Mana Iskandar? Iskandar dah pergi cari burung lemang dah ni. Okay, I want to take apa nama? Group photo lah to so that I know that everyone is here Nah, mana dia yang lain ni? Okay. Mana yang lain? Hamizan mana Hamizan? Cuba tegak sikit. Saya tak nampak. Saya nampak kepala je, rambut je ni. Tegak sikit. Tunjuk sikit muka tu. Kenapa Syamil punya gambar ni macam pelik je ni? Okay, everyone ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Sekejap, I tengok hasil dia macam mana. Okay. Alright, okay. Alright, so please remember my important last notes tadi. Yeah. Make sure that I want to see originality, authenticity. And satu lagi, I hope everybody ada lab coat Ada lab coat tak semua ni? Okay, kalau tak ada, cuba dapatkan lab coat. Okay, so that you can join the lab, experiment afterwards when you return. Okay, so next week, by tomorrow you're gonna get the documents for open-ended lab, and I already posted the lab untuk close-ended lab. You can start discussing with your friends. So then hari Tuesday next week we can break into small groups, and you can do some consultation. Are we okay? All right. So that's it for today. Selamat berbuka puasa. I'll see you insyaAllah next week. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doktor. Selamat.
Thank you,
Thank you, Doktor.